Hi, this is Todd from UXly Software, the creators of One Shot API. I'm going to show you how to monetize your make scenarios using the x402 gateway template from One Shot API. To get started, let's first make sure we have a free account created at oneshotapi.com. The first thing that you're going to want to do is click the Wallets tab. And for this demo, we're going to be using the Base Sepolia testnet. So let's create a wallet for Base Sepolia. On your blockchain selector, scroll down to Base Sepolia, click confirm, and that will automatically provision a one-shot wallet for you on that network. If you view the wallet, it will show you an account address. Be sure to send a little bit of testnet ETH to that address to pay for the transactions that will be coming from your make scenario. The next thing that we want to do before we leave here is come over to the API Keys tab, click Create a New Key, give it a name, and we're going to be using this key in secret here in just a little bit. So now that we have those two pieces of information, let's come back over to Make. Let's click the Scenarios tab, and let's create a new scenario. What we want to do is import the pre-made x402 gateway template. To do that, you can grab the template from our docs. Come to docs.oneshotapi.com, scroll down a little ways and click on Make, and then click on the x402 section. This link right here will take you to the JSON for the complete x402 gateway definition. You can copy that and save it to your local file system. So once you've done that, we'll import that blueprint. And you'll see something like this. And if you zoom in, each one of these nodes has a name that tells you essentially what's going on at that step of the x402 protocol. And additionally, if you click on these little purple circles, you can get more information about what is happening at any step of the procedure. So there's a couple of things we have to do to configure this to work end to end. The first one is we have to provision a make webhook instance. So if you click on the first node, click Create Webhook. I would give it a name like x402 so you remember what it is later. And you need to turn on advanced settings and enable request headers. And you need to enable JSON pass-through because you're probably monetizing a more sophisticated downstream scenario, which will take a request body. So save that. And you can see here it's now generated a URL. That is a publicly accessible URL that we can then give out to people to call our service. So let's save that. We'll come back to it in a minute. The next thing that we have to do is we have to connect this scenario to our One Shot API user account, which means we have to make a connection. So if we click the node and click Create a Connection, here is where our client ID and secret go, as well as our business ID. Come back to the One Shot dashboard, grab the key and the secret value, and lastly the business ID, which is available at the top right hand corner of the dashboard. Save that. And that's all we need to do on this particular node. We do need to activate the same credential connection on the other two one-shot nodes, so be sure to accept that on both of the other remaining one-shot nodes. We're almost done here. We're almost ready to try it out. The last thing that we need to do is we need to point the simulate step and the execute step to the correct payment token that we want to receive as a premium service provider. If we click into one of these nodes, you can see here there's a selector box, contract method ID, and you can see that it's pointing at a function called transfer with authorization for make demo. I want to show you how to set that up. Come back over to the One Shot dashboard, click on the My Smart Contracts tab. So for this demo, we're going to be using the USDC testnet token on Base Sepolia. If you grab this contract address, come back to the One Shot API dashboard, click create a new smart contract, paste that token address here, select the Base Sepolia network, and then fetch the ABI. This will bring up all of the available methods that you could import against that token contract into your user account for one-shot API. Specifically, we want the transfer with authorization function. USDC implements a couple of different versions of it. We want the version that has the signature parameter. So that's this one. Let's hit add, and we want to give it a name to make it easy to find in our Make Scenario Builder. So let's call it Make Scenario Tutorial. Create that endpoint. And now if we come back to My Smart Contracts and filter on the Base Sepolia network, you can see that's the method that we just imported from the endpoint builder. So let's come back to our scenario, choose the Simulate Payment node, and then let's find that endpoint. Make Scenario Tutorial Transfer, that one right here. Save it, and then we want to be sure to select the same endpoint and execute. So let's search for Make. And by doing that, we've essentially programmed our payment token into this scenario by pointing these two nodes at a specific transfer with authorization function on a specific token contract. If you want to configure the price of your route, you can click on this filter right here. This filter checks that there exists a signature payload. Leave that alone. But this condition right here will ensure that the value being transferred is equal to or greater than whatever value you want to charge for your service. I'm going to leave it alone for right now. This would charge 5 testnet cents in USDC. Okay, now at this point, we're ready to give it a shot. If you open this note, here's an example curl command that we can use as a basis for trying this out. So copy that and open something like VS Code. Save an example of it. Now let's grab the actual URL that we provisioned from the first node. Let's open this up. Click copy address to clipboard. Replace this. And the first thing we want to see is if we leave the X payment header off. Let's make sure that our scenario handles it appropriately. Let's copy that, paste it here. Enable our scenario, and then let's hit it. So you can see here, X payment header missing. That's what we were expecting. And one thing you can see from Make Scenarios, it's very easy to visually debug what's happening. You can see here the state, hit the webhook. There's our payload with the headers that we received, and the state ended up down here at the missing payment webhook response. One more thing we'll try before we do it for real is we will try adding a bad X payment data header. So let's just try including the X payment header but with a nonsense value. So let's take this, paste it here, again enable our scenario, and let's run it. You can see here X payment header is malformed, which means that the decoding step failed, and so we ended up at this 402 status code. Okay, now we want to try to do the full thing end to end. We want to actually submit a successful testnet payment. So to do that, we're going to replace this dummy value with a well-formed base 64 encoded payment. And to do that, you can use this helpful app that is available in the x402 GitHub repository. You can run this locally, and it's great for generating payment tokens that you can copy out of the network tab. So let's hit pay now, confirm, And if we click this failed premium call, click the headers, scroll down, let's grab that token and put it here. Before we run it, let's make sure that our scenario is running. And you can see here that we performed a successful payment. Payment received. I want to show you that this simulate step is actually a circuit breaker that prevents you from submitting invalid payments. So if we were to run this call again with the same payment receipt, which is already spent, the nonce that is included in that payment, this simulate step will actually fail. So let's just run this one more time and rerun the exact same payment call. You can see here we ended up in payment invalid, and you can see here X payment invalid, protecting us from trying to execute invalid payments from potentially autonomous agents. So that is the quick walkthrough on getting up and running to monetize any scenario that you can build and make using the one-shot API x402 gateway. Check out some of our other tutorial videos for other on-chain activities that you can automate using one-shot API and make, as well as N8N and if this then that. Thank you.